Hi, I'm Jason Bellamy coming to you from CSM 2018. We've been doing this broadcast yesterday and today, and I couldn't be more pleased than to be joined by Efosa Guobodia and Josh D'Angelo for our last broadcast here from CSM. And we're going to talk about Move Together. First of all, just from the start, Move Together, different than Move Forward, which is on the banner behind Josh. Two totally different things. Move Together, I'm going to let you guys talk about in a second. APTA is a partner with Move Together. You do a lot of incredible work, but you two guys, before you founded Move Together, founded PT Day of Service. And so one of you, just tell me first of all of what is PT Day of Service, people haven't heard about it, and kind of the short story of how it came to be, and then let's talk about how that then became Move Together.
Sure, so PT Day of Service is exactly what it sounds. It's a day that unites the physical therapy profession and service. And so essentially every physical therapist, physical therapist assistant, student, professional, family member, friend, anyone who wants to serve under the banner of physical therapy can all go out on the same day. So it's a Saturday in October every year. This year it'll be Saturday, October 13th, where the whole profession goes out and serves. And that service may be physical therapy related or not. But basically the idea started with the concept of showing how compassionate, how fired up the physical therapy profession could be to create change in their local communities. And I'll let Efosa tell you a little bit of the story of how it originated.
The origin story, well, what we love about the initiative is about local service for a global effect. And this past year we're in 55 countries. So the geo footprint that has been pretty special. PT Day of Service is something that's really been built by the profession. There was a spark, which I'll share, and I've shared in some other places. It was about 3 years ago. I was in Iquitos, Peru, doing some service work in Peru, and this one day on my way to a service site, I was on this boat on the Amazon River, and out of nowhere, Jason, this idea that had been in the back of my mind suddenly shot to the front of my mind. The idea was this: what if we challenge students, staff, clinicians of the physical therapy profession around the corner and around the world to do an act of service on the same day? Then, what if we challenge those same people to share the moments had and the connections made online, on social media, on different web pages? What would that look like? What would that look like to the bonds within our profession? What would that look like for the representation of our professions to communities around the world? So once I got back from the Amazon River back to the mainland, I emailed Josh, who's one of my best friends, and the idea was still unsure of himself, so I might type in, how is this going to sound to Josh or anybody? And his response was absolutely amazing. He goes, Efosa, not only do we have to do this, we can't not do this. You know, and then the idea of a spark.
Yeah, it's so cool, and it's so great. I mean, it aligns perfectly, first of all, with APTA's vision about transforming society, right? So that's really about society transformation, getting out in there in the world. APTA also, too, is all about engagement. That's engagement, and it's easy engagement, which is something else the association is really focused on, which is why we're glad to partner with you guys. And so to that end, again, people have done so many different things, right? They've built wheelchair ramps, and they've gone out and they've donated food, or they've worked at a shelter or something like that. So many different ways. It's really whatever, by yourself in a group of 12, however you want to do it. So you had this, and you could have stopped there, but you didn't. And so tell me about Move Together. First of all, in principle, what is it? And then how did it come to be? Where's it going?
Okay.
You can break that up into a few different things.
Yeah,
Let's start with what is it? Yeah.
What is it? Move Together is a 501c3. We like to say it's a high-impact, for-purpose 501c3. And our mission and our vision really starts to describe what it is. Our mission is to increase access to quality rehab medicine around the corner and around the world. We say around the corner and around the world, near and far, domestic and abroad, because we think that's the true definition of global health. When we talk about increasing access to quality rehab medicine, access is the key word. In some of the communities, Jason, that Josh and I and our teams go, a lot of the challenges are systemic and structural by nature. Thus, they need systemic and structural approaches. And access has this circle of dysfunction. Either the place doesn't exist for a person to go to, or the place does exist, they don't have the means to go there, or the place exists and they have the means, they may not have what that person needs. So how can we really live and think and serve in that multidimensional way?
Yeah, and we'd love to zoom in and highlight two specific programs. We have 4 programs total, but 2 that we'd like to highlight today. So number 1, we have a program called the Clinic Development Program. And what that program essentially does is it builds and starts brand new physical therapy clinics within a community that needs the care, or enhances physical therapy clinics that are already in existing operations. So actually, if you rewind back to last May of 2017, we went to a community called Villanueva, Guatemala. And that community is a town of about 2 to 3 million people. And for the entire 2 to 3 million people, they had 1 physical therapy clinic. And so we worked with the local mayor, the first lady, the healthcare infrastructure of the Guatemalan municipality, Villanueva, and we built a physical therapy clinic from the ground up. We put the walls up, we hammered the nails into the walls, put the windows on, put the doors on, everything, and we gave them the foundation, essentially working hand in hand with them, of a physical therapy clinic. And so what's been so neat to see, we had a chance to go back down and visit just a few weeks ago in early January. What's been so neat to see is how they really took it on as their own. You know, as soon as you walk in, they have these bright colors. You know, it feels Guatemalan in nature. They've built equipment. They have physical therapy students who are now running a good number of the treatments, and they have physical therapists who are running the whole operation of the system. You know, and so recently we actually finalized our vision. Efosa spoke a little bit about the mission, you know, what is the center of all of our activities. Our vision, that big, bold future that we're striving towards, that may keep getting a little further off in the distance, but we're still striding towards it. The vision is to have a clinic in every community and a sense of community in every clinic. And Jason, I'll tell you, that clinic down in Villanueva, you could just feel the community and the hugs and the loves and the hands-on treatment that was going on there. So it's been a really special journey. For that particular program, we're doing our second project this coming May in a town called San Pedro Zacatepeques.
He loves saying the name.
Zacatepeques, San Pedro Zacatepeques, Guatemala. And we're going to be transforming it, an unused space that's a little bit run down, into a thriving physical therapy clinic. So we're super excited for that. Really quickly, the next program I'll highlight is called...
You can take your time.
All right. The next program I would love to highlight that we're actually launching just this week is a program called Catalyst Club. And Catalyst Club is going to be our critical mass of servant leaders that are all contributing towards the mission and vision of Move Together. So we've picked out a number of ways, a number of highlighted pathways where students or professionals or, again, family and friends can get involved to contribute to the mission. That might be as something small as buying a Guatemalan coffee that goes and contributes to Move Together, or something as big as leading a service project, coming on a service trip with us, or starting a brand new project that's not yet in existence.
So I want to touch on that involvement part of it, right? So if I hear about this and I think I want to support this because this is amazing, what are my opportunities realistically? Is it, do I have an opportunity to go put in nails into a clinic wall? Is that an opportunity for me? Is it better if I just basically help you finance this because those walls cost money and the money needs to come from somewhere? What's the best place for somebody watching this to get involved, and how do they do that?
Yeah, we'll share this answer. We talk a lot, Jason, about the concept of bidirectionality. So that's a macro look at things. But when we talk about bidirectionality, we want those who come to play with us to serve to be fulfilled in the work that they do, while we're also fulfilling others and fulfilling objectives. So we're creating the architecture and the infrastructure of opportunities, of projects, of programs to, again, fulfill our mission of increasing access to quality rehab medicine around the corner, around the world, and to pursue our vision of a clinic in every community and a sense of community in every clinic. So yes and yes and yes to all the things that you say. So a couple of times a year we have projects overseas, right? We have programs and projects where we enhance clinics or we build new clinics, and we open up spots for people around the country to apply for those projects to join us. We have a program that Josh didn't mention that I will call the Pro Bono Incubator Program, in which is a grant program which we provide funds and mentorship to those who want to do pro bono projects, short term and hopefully rather sustainable term or long term in the U.S. That's a domestic program. Josh did just mention the Catalyst Club, and the Catalyst Club is what we call our critical mass of our family, you know, to increase our bandwidth to, again, fulfill the mission. And through that program, there's going to be tangible things that people could do, like Josh mentioned. And from that place, you could grow in your servant leadership. The places that speak to you, that in ways you want to serve, identify how you could play with us on the project level, the programmatic level, or the organization level. We're here to serve the people who want to serve with us, as well as the people that we're serving.
Yeah, and Jason, I'll add to that as well, that we talk all the time about how the profession of physical therapy is such an amazing profession, has a lot of different pathways in it, right? As a pathway for academic leadership, a pathway for research, a pathway for clinical specialization, for business management, et cetera, we want to help paint the pathway of servant leadership, and we really want to meet servant leaders where they are. So, you know, if you're in school right now and you don't have too much time, you're busy preparing for your exams, your board exam, you know, maybe it's just serving that one time a year for PT Day of Service. But if you want more structured, more continuous involvement, okay, now let's get involved with the Catalyst Club. You want to take that next step and actually go on a service trip and inundate yourself in a different culture, travel to a foreign place and learn about them and collaborate and grow together. Come on a service trip with us, help us build a brand new clinic. Or maybe it's your mom or your grandma that wants to contribute, but is busy with a full-time job or something like that. We have a really high ask of you. just drink some delicious Guatemalan coffee. So we're painting pathways across the spectrum for people to contribute and give where they feel most comfortable and where they feel most called.
Jason, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, but I'm probably going to be smiling the whole time I talk. So one of my favorite things, now one of my many favorite things I would say, is when we go overseas on a project, let's say Guatemala, or Colombia, and Honduras, and a person joins us on a trip or a project for the first time. You know, when they land in Guatemala City, Guatemala, and the airport is different, and just engaging with that, it's an airport that looks different from JFK. And then we drive on our way to our lodging and our hotel side and start to check in, and then when we get to the clinic, a lot of the patients that we see in these communities, they've never had physical therapy before. They've never met a physical therapist before. So two things are true. One, we're a representation of a whole profession to these people in this corner of the world. And two, since they have these compounding ailments, they start dancing. They say, this hurts, this hurts, this hurts, this hurts, this hurts. And that PT that's on the trip with us, stepping up and figuring it out because they need to, treating from the depths of their heart and the tops of their intelligence and leaning on each other as a team and giving the patient in front of them what they can. It's a beautiful thing, and the internal growth that happens for each person throughout the week that's manifested externally, it means everything.
Well, you didn't know it, but you set me up for my last question, which is, as you've done this, clearly you guys have learned a lot about just how to put something like this together, what it takes to build a clinic, all that stuff. But what do you got into this business in the first place to help people, right? And what have you learned about patient care from doing this? What have you learned about this experience, doing the clinic builds, going in and watching that happening, how has that changed your impression about what your profession is? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great question. There's so many different directions that my mind races. I would say the first thing that I think of is that there's so much more as humanity, as people, that drives us together than what separates us. You know, we go down to a foreign country many people haven't visited before, where you have a different language, a different culture, different expectations, right? And to see physical therapists and physical therapy students work hand in hand with someone that they have so little in common with, and see the trajectory that they take together towards healing, and to see the love that they share in the process, it's just absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous process, you know? And we've learned so much just by watching others be able to give in that way. So much more that drives us together than what pulls us apart. That's a big piece of it for me.
He always has the best answers, doesn't it? So Jason, what has been reinforced for me in these trips is the power of touch and the transformative nature of the concept of movement. I was sharing an anecdote, I probably shared it with you in the past, we'll share with our friends watching now. It was a couple of years ago, Jason, and I was in Guatemala. And I was treating this young mother. Her name was Maria, and she's about 30 years old or so. She had several kids, and at this site that I was doing some treatment with, she came in with her kids on this day, and I could just tell she was distressed, and she was distraught, and she was coming right for me. I think I had treated her sister or her cousin the other day, and they told her about me. So she comes up to me, and she starts opening up to me. I think by this time, she's calling me by my name. She goes, Efosa, I bumped up my shoulder a couple of weeks ago, and it's really been limiting what I've been able to do. I'm not able to pick up my kids. I'm not able to dance with my husband. I am not able to go back to work. It's affecting so many things. Calmed everything down, and I said, we're going to do our best to work with you. I did an assessment of her shoulder very quick, and we found that she had in this impairment. She had limited range of motion to about 90 degrees. I worked with her over the next 60 minutes, Jason. You know, soft tissue mobilization, joint mobilization, postural rehab, neuromuscular education. At the end of that 60 minutes, she had full range of motion. We hugged. There may have been some tears in there as well, and we certainly smiled, and then she left. And then I spent the next couple of days thinking about that session and what that might mean in her life. And I thought to myself, now that we've increased her range of motion, we just increase her functional capacity. She could return back to work. She could salsa dance with her husband a little bit, you know. She could play with her kids. By increasing her functional capacity, we've improved her family dynamics in the ways that I just mentioned. By improving her family dynamics, we've improved that ecosystem of friends and family. By bettering that ecosystem, we better that community. Better communities around the world is a better world. So through one intervention, one session with one patient, that lineation of a better world can happen. So the idea and the hope that those sessions and touch points are happening all over the place, whether it's Georgia and whether it's Guatemala, and physical therapy is such a powerful tool to make that happen.
He doesn't know, but he just said the APTA vision again. Transforming society by optimizing movement to improve the human experience. That story is that vision. Just as a quick plug, we did a APTA podcast series late last year in which both of these guys participated. The Finding My Way podcast series, you can hear about their first years coming out of PT school and how they found their way into doing cool things like this. There are 8 other episodes of that podcast series that includes APTA President Sharon Dunn. You can find that podcast on the APTA.org podcast page or by going to iTunes and searching APTA Podcast. We'll also be doing podcast versions of these interviews we're doing right here if you want to get the audio later or share that with somebody. The Move Together website URL is?
MoveTogether.org.
MoveTogether.org. That's where you can find out how you can support these guys and get involved. For Josh D'Angelo, for Efosa Guobodia, they've been sweeping up behind us while we're doing this, so apparently it's time to go. I'm Jason Bellamy, and I'll catch you later.
Thank you so much.